Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Godfather Chronicles podcast. My name is Miguel Garcia, and I am your host. Before we get started, I'd like you to please rate the podcast, and if you like the content, forward to your friends. Create an Instagram or Facebook post, talk about it. We need to spread this podcast because there's a lot of people that need this, I think. Also, this podcast is being sponsored by naturalchoicecompany.com. If you guys could come and check them out, it'd be awesome. Anyway, today's topic is about adversity. And I have a specific question from Joshua Rockwood. And he's asking, how do you strengthen your family through loss and adversity? Man, loss and adversity, they're like first cousins to me. My family and I have gone through loss and adversity. We lost two children. One when my wife was expecting and she was 8 months pregnant. And the sad thing was that, you're carrying the baby full term almost, and then the cord got wrapped up in his neck and basically choked. So I remember the night before, Dora was asking me, hey, I don't feel right. There's, I got a lot of pain in my tummy. I don't know what's going on and all that stuff. And so I said, man, I don't know. You want to go to the hospital? And she goes, no, let's just see what goes on. And the next morning, she said to me, I don't feel the baby. He's not kicking anymore. And so we rushed to the hospital, and sure enough, they told us the baby was diseased. And so she had to go through a C-section to get the baby out. And it wasn't nice, man. It wasn't pretty. It was a really hard time where you start questioning everything, including God and His will. But it's also a time of growth. It's a time where when you get so deep into yourself that you find things about you that you never knew. For me, looking at my wife and seeing her suffering, going through a C-section and delivering a dead baby, basically, and not see the joy in her eyes when, baby was born and it's put in her arms and things like that just crushed me. And so first thing you do is like, God, why? But then you check yourself. And, there's a lot of things that we don't understand. Things happen and people don't understand. Like, for instance, children are born with disease, with special needs, with all sorts of things. Things happen to families. All of a sudden you have a child that is addicted to drugs, and you find out things about, your kids that you didn't know, and now you're worried about it. And so adversity is very real, and it's ever present. For me, I have a saying that pain is my friend. And what that does is I am comfortable feeling pain. I'm not afraid of pain. I'm not afraid of adversity, because through pain, through adversity, that's how you grow. That's how you develop resilience. That's how you develop skills to graduate for the next level. As cruel as it might sound, God sends you tests. And it is up to us to pass the test. If God wants to graduate you to the next level, He's going to send you a test. I mean, think about it. It is very logical, right? So if you're in school, to go from one grade to another grade, you have to pass tests. If you're going to, try out for a sports team or whatever, you have to pass a test. And before you do all that stuff, you have to get ready for the test. So God sends us the test to help us strengthen our weaknesses, because He's got something big for us. God will graduate us when we pass the test. So adversity is a test. So instead of shying away from adversity, we need to embrace it. I love the military. I spend a lot of time with soldiers, and I remember, in particular the Army, they would tell people, embrace the suck. Because there was adversity, there was hard training, there was whatever it was, and people would start bitching about it or complaining, and their sergeant or their superior would go, hey, embrace the suck. In other words, freaking stop complaining, suck it up, because it's happening, whether you like it or not. It's happening. It's here. It's real. You could touch it, you could feel it, you could sense it, whatever. It is here. You can't freaking unwill it. You can't make it disappear. When adversity hits you, it's there, and you have to deal with it. You can't shy away from it, because it's there. It's like your freaking eyeball, man. Your eyeball is there. There's nothing you can do. That's how you were designed. You got two eyeballs. That's the end of it. Adversity, for me, when it's here, then I get into solution mode. I look at the problem, and I'm going, okay, we have this issue, we have this adversity. All right, let's focus on the solution. Do not focus on the problem. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a story. It's kind of very personal. Very personal. So just bear with me. My son Rafael was six years old. It's September of 2006, and he's so excited about going to first grade. He's just thrilled and excited, and he's loving school and things like that. School starts September 4 or whatever it was, and then September 20th, we start noticing that he's dragging his foot. And we're like, come on, man, you got to walk right. And we don't know if he's acting up or not. And, you get this like punch in the gut feeling that it's telling you there's something wrong. But you try to overcome that with enthusiasm and being positive. It's like, no, maybe he's faking it. So we keep going, Rafael, come on, you gotta walk right, buddy. And he tries to walk right, and he's dragging his foot a little bit. Then my wife told me that when she was helping him dress, he was having problems putting his hand in the sleeve of the sweater. And so we started getting concerned. So we went to the hospital and got some tests done. Everything came out negative. But we kept seeing him decline. And now he was falling down. He couldn't keep, he's vertical. He couldn't walk properly, and so he would fall down. And the kids in the school were making fun of him. And he would come in and he would be upset and go, they're kind of making fun of me. But we would go, well, kids are men, don't worry about it. They don't mean it, blah, 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 right? So, as a parent, you're looking at this situation and your instinct takes over, and you start going, okay, what is wrong? There's something wrong. This is not right. Let's figure this out. So we insisted that he would get an MRI. Well, got an MRI, and we found out he had a brain tumor. And the doctor, the regular doctor, didn't know better. And he said, well, he's got a brain tumor, but I think it's operable. And we're like, okay, my wife and I are looking at each other, and those looks that kind of pierce each other's hearts. When you look at your wife and you're saying all sorts of things through just a look. And I could read her eyes and sense that she's going through anguish and pain, uncertainty. And I'm going through the same stuff, but you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong, not for you, but for them. You gotta understand this. It's not about you. When adversity hits a family member, it's not about you. A lot of folks throw a pity party. They cry. They hit things. They go crazy. No, you have to keep calm. You have to remain in control, because it's not about you. It's not your pity party for you to have. It's about the child. So I told my wife, I said, I remember giving her a big hug and say, baby, we're in this together. We're going to get through this no matter what. I'm here for you and you're here for me. And, God is testing us, and he's going to give us the tools to get through this. So when he got the MRI, we took him to a specialist, and the specialist says, look, the brain tumor is in the worst possible spot, because it's between, where your spinal cord ends and it goes into the brain. So the way he explained it to me is like, look, it's like an electrical conduit, and you got all the nerves and everything going from the spine to the brain, and the tumor is embedded in the nerves. And he said, if we touch anything, we'll mess up a bunch of things. And he says, I don't think you could operate. But so he sent us to Kansas City to a specialist, and we took him out there. The doctor said, yeah, there's no way we couldn't even try radiation, because you can't really pinpoint or isolate the tumor. So anyway, we're going through this, and we're thinking, man, what's going to happen? He's going to die. When you realize that you are going to lose something that you cherish so much, that you love so much, that is such a big part of you, your mind starts messing with you. And so I remember driving back from Kansas City, and instead of focusing on, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose my son and cry or whatever it is, I started praying. And I grabbed my rosary and I started praying. And then I try to pray, enunciating the words so that I would be focused on the prayer versus allowing my mind to wander. And so that was a conscious effort for me to focus on prayer versus on what would happen, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I had some sort of idea, but we speculate, our mind goes out and wonders, and it comes up with all kinds of crap that are not even true. One of the things that I learned in the Artist Syndicate, and it's kind of comical for me because, I was 55 years old when I joined the syndicate. And it was a talk that we had in one of the summits, in which the speaker talked about the past and the future. How we as humans relive and bring back past memories into the present. You bring stuff from the past that there's nothing you could do about that. The past is the past. And a lot of us cling to the past, and we have a pity party in the present, and this the feelings that we bring from the past that don't exist anymore take over our present. And so the past is dictating our present, the way we feel. So the silly part is that the past doesn't exist anymore. Why should it be affecting you at all? There's nothing you can do about it. It's gone. So why bring it back? Why? And then the future doesn't exist either. But yet, we worry about the future. The future brings us anxiety. And we forget to live on the present. Do you see the pattern? We're dealing with the past that doesn't exist, and we're dealing with the future that doesn't exist. And you're in the present. And you're bringing those two things into your present, and they don't exist. So, how do you deal with that? It's stay in the present. Go, this is where I'm at. These are the tools that I have. I'm at this position right now. I'm going to use those tools. So you have to focus on the present. Past doesn't exist. Neither does the future. So I need to, praying for me grounds me. It keeps me away from my mind wandering everywhere. So I suggest that when you're going through something like this, or through an adversity or through a problem, that you try to ground yourself. Whatever grounds you, do that. Or start practicing. So for me, praying is that thing that grounds me. So anyway, my son was diagnosed with inoperable brain tumor, and we're meeting with doctors, and they're saying, hey, let's do chemotherapy, let's do radiation, let's do this trial thing. And so I'm like, okay, stop. What are the odds that my son is going to survive? And I will never forget this fucking doctor from St. Jude Hospital. Not from St. Jude Hospital, I'm sorry. He was from Children's Mercy Hospital. Said, well, I don't know. I don't know what the odds are. And I go, look, you've seen this shit before, right? And I looked at him dead eye, and I'm like, you've seen this before. This is not the first time you see this type of tumor. So tell me what the prognosis is. And he goes, well, it's around 20%. And I said, I'm going to ask you one more freaking time, what is the real prognosis? And he says, well, less than 10%. I said, thank you. How fucking complicated is that? They want to use, he wanted to use my son as a guinea pig. He was going to mess with my son's quality of life. I asked him, I said, how long does a person with this diagnosis live? He goes, well, this is not like a soap opera where you got 2 days to live, a week to live, 2 weeks. And I said, give me an average. You've seen this before. What is the average? And he said, okay, well, it's between 2-3 months to 6 months. I'm like, okay, I got something to work with now. But I'm bringing this up because, man, I'm going back and it hurts all over again, but it's in the past, right? It's not here anymore. So I'm going to focus on now. I want to help you understand that you have to keep your wits. You cannot let emotion take over. Emotion is the worst enemy that you would have in terms of making you make irrational decisions. Do not use your emotions. God gives you the emotions for a reason, but they're not to make decisions. You have to look at the facts. And so we started looking at the facts. Okay, he's got maybe 2 to 6 months to live. Do you want to put him on chemo? Is less than 10% the chance that he's going to survive, and the quality of life is going to be shit. So we had a family meeting, and we were like, okay guys, this is the situation. What do you guys want to do? If he goes through chemo, it's less than 10%, and he's going to be sick all of the time. And then we had to be close to the hospital, so which is about an hour and a half, an hour 40 minutes away from the house. So he wasn't going to be with the family. So as a family, we decided that we were going to skip that chemo and all the treatments, and we were going to try to go natural and ride it out. So, we're talking about adversity. So this is an adversity. And so we're looking at God and going, he's only 6 years old. Why would you take a 6 years old boy who hasn't lived a life yet? And so the more we thought about that, the Catholic Church teaches that God loves every single soul. And the purpose of our soul is not to live in this world. Our purpose is eternal. Our life is eternal. Our soul, as a spiritual being, is eternal. Our soul, the spiritual soul, is trapped in a physical body that is going to decay when you die, but the soul lives forever. So God's plan is for you to live forever, for your soul to live forever, which is your essence. The body is just like a defect. Your soul is the essence of you, and he's going to live forever. So for us Catholics, our goal is to go to heaven so that we could live happily ever after for eternity. So when you look at my son, 6-year-old little boy, big brown eyes, big smile, he's dying of cancer. Instead of looking at it from that perspective, we started looking at from, he's going to live forever. He's going home. He won the prize. He won heaven at 6 years old. It takes people to live a long time, 80, 90 years old or whatever. It takes them all that long to win the prize. And it's taking my son only 6 years to win that prize. And because he's only 6 years old, he hasn't had a chance to offend God by sinning. And so therefore his place in heaven, it's even higher. So when you see what appears to be tragedy in children's death, think about this. God is not unjust. God is like, okay, son, it's time to go. I'm going to give you your prize. You're going to live happy ever after in heaven. That's the explanation of why God allows, children to die. God is always looking after us. My grandma used to say there was a guy that in her town in the old days that committed suicide. He jumped off of a bridge, and people would go, "Well, he's in hell, pretty sure." We're pretty sure because when you commit suicide, you're in hell. And the priest told him, like, you need to stop that, because between the top of the bridge and the bottom of the canyon, there's the moment of grace. And God is such a loving Father that if you say, "God, forgive me," God will forgive you. and God will give you the grace to save your soul. So anyway, getting back to the adversity thing, how do you deal with that? And we look at it, my family now looks at it as a trial period for graduation. When we get adversity, we look at each other and go, okay, I wonder what the graduation present is going to be. And it makes dealing with adversity a lot easier. You have to trust God. You have to. That would keep you sane. God is in control. We are not in control. We are not. As much as we want to be in control, we're not. We control certain things. But God could turn up a miracle in 0.21 seconds. God could change your life in less than a second. God could change your life, your business, by one sales call. So God is in control. I'm telling you, man, I'm a type A guy and I'm very impatient. And it takes a lot for me to understand these things because I want things to happen in my time frame. And I always have to remind myself, no, it's on God's time. It's not your time, Miguel. God is in charge. So what I do is I keep doing the things I'm doing, go through the motions of what you got to do, do the work. Do the work and God will reward you. So, my friends, I'm probably missed a lot of stuff in this podcast on adversity, but I've gone through a lot. And for me, again, in summary, I pray. When adversity hits, I'll stop and I'm going, okay, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray for wisdom to do the right thing. I'm going to pray for wisdom so that God could allow me to think right, to make the right decisions, and then I move forward. I embrace the suck. As much as I hate it, I know that on the other side of adversity, there is a gift. There is a graduation party because I'm getting to the next level, because I survived this level, because I conquer this level. So you need to look at adversity not as the enemy, but as a, pain in the ass friend. I mean, because again, when adversity gets thrown at you, it's there. And you have to go through it. You have to figure it out. And it's a lot easier to figure it out when you got God on your side. It sucks when you're lonely. It sucks when you have nobody. You're going through this all alone. That is the worst. So when you're going through adversity, seek help. Seek counsel. Don't go through it alone. It's worth it. I didn't want to be somber on this or whatever, but it is what it is, man. Adversity sucks, but it's here. It is every day. God gives us that opportunity to grow through adversity every single day. If you get a lot of adversity, you know what that means? Is that God sees a lot of potential in you, and He's trying to develop all the gifts that He gave you, that you have buried down deep inside, and you don't want to get them out because you want to live a happy, fluffy, superficial fucking life. Okay, embrace adversity and grow with it and graduate. Trust God and go, go through the motions and get it done, because it's not gonna go away by you wishing it to go away. Anyway, probably went over a little bit on time, but these are deep conversations that we're having, and I might bring a person that could help me talk about adversity, but I want to give you a first-hand example of adversity and what I do and what I went through. There's one more story that I almost forgot. That was when my wife had the last baby, Enrique. She had a C-section, and this was our 15th baby. And the uterus had fused with her innards. And so when they were trying to pull the uterus out, she was bleeding everywhere. There wasn't like a one single source of bleeding, but it was like a coming out through like pores from different spots, and they couldn't pinpoint the bleeding part. So they asked me to leave the emergency room, and I walked out, and I'm like, God, come on, I mean, she's been faithful. This is our 15th pregnancy. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to take her away from me? And I started sort of arguing, which is normal. I'm not embarrassed to say that, you go, I'm human. I'm weak. And I'm panicking. I'm about to lose the most precious thing I have in my life, which is my wife, through childbirth. And, I kept seeing nurses come in with coolers that had pints of blood in there because she was getting transfusions. So just so you know, my wife, because she's so petite, she has about 9 pints of blood. Well, she had 13 pints of blood transfused to her because she lost like everything. The doctor came out, which his last name was Breakbone for a doctor. Ha ha ha. Came out and he goes, man, I lost her. We brought her back, and hopefully she'll be fine. So from the day we went into the hospital, I stayed 48 hours with her in the intensive care unit. And I remember asking God not to take my wife and saying, I'll be a better husband. I'll be a better father. I'll be this, I'll be that. I'm trying to make a deal with God so he wouldn't take my wife. And I would look at her and see her. She was intubed. And I remember looking at her lips and wanting to kiss those lips, wanting to feel the warmth of her lips, just to make sure she was alive. And it was pretty rough, but I said, God, I don't know why you sent this to me or her, but I'll accept it. And at that moment, I felt this peace. I felt the God was saying, like, good job, my son. You understand? You got it. You graduated. We're going to get you to the next level. And after that, life changed. The business took off really well. And our life changed. God graduated us because we were faithful to him. So, anyway, embrace the suck, embrace the adversity, work through it, find people that can help you. I'm here if you need me. And let's get through all these tests and win heaven. I hope this was helpful for you. And if it was, please share it with a friend or friends or family and give us a rating. If you have specific questions, DM me at MAG Patriot in Instagram. Miguel Godfather on Facebook, or email me at miguel@godfatherchronicles.com. I love you guys. Please help me help you. Ask me the questions. Take care. God bless.